Today, we delve into a story that has been making waves in the political arena. Hunter Biden, son of President Joe Biden, is facing 9 tax-related charges. These charges emerge from an alleged tax avoidance scheme involving over $1 million. Prosecutors assert that he failed to pay his due taxes and submitted fraudulent forms to the IRS. The funds, according to the prosecutors, were used extravagantly on drugs, escorts, luxury hotels, rental properties, and other personal expenses. This is not just a case of unpaid taxes, it's an accusation of a lavish lifestyle funded by the evasion of financial responsibilities. On the other side of the courtroom, Hunter Biden's defense argues that these charges are politically motivated. This stance suggests that politics, not justice, is the driving force behind these allegations. As we navigate through this complex narrative, let's remember that this is more than just a story about a prominent political figure. It's a story about the legal and political systems of our country. Understanding the sequence of events is key in comprehending any story. So, let's journey back to the start of this saga. Our tale begins in the late 2010s, when irregularities were spotted in Hunter Biden's tax returns. The son of President Joe Biden, Hunter found himself under the intense scrutiny of the IRS. The focus of the federal indictment was his tax return for the year 2018, but the indictment also encompassed misdemeanors and felonies for the years leading up to it, including filing a false return and tax evasion. As the investigation progressed, whispers of political interference began to circulate. 2 whistleblowers testified before Congress, stating that the IRS had recommended more severe charges against Hunter Biden than what he had agreed to plead guilty to. These claims led to allegations of a sweetheart deal and preferential treatment by the Department of Justice. In the midst of this, Hunter Biden was required to appear at Capitol Hill for a hearing before his court appearance. The Republicans in Congress sought to hold him in contempt for failing to comply with a subpoena for a closed-door deposition. However, Hunter Biden's attorney argued that the charges were politically motivated, a claim that has echoed throughout the case. Fast forward to January 24, Hunter Biden pleads not guilty to 9 tax-related charges in a federal court in Los Angeles. The trial is set to begin in June, marking the next chapter of this ongoing saga. In the interim, the controversy surrounding his plea deal continues to swirl. The plea agreement, if adhered to, will also resolve a separate felony gun charge. However, the whispers of political interference persist, casting a shadow over the proceedings. This timeline paints a picture of a complicated legal battle, intertwined with political strategies and public perceptions. In the heart of this controversy lie Hunter Biden's tax returns and the federal indictment against him. Let's delve into the details. Business Insider reviewed Hunter Biden's individual tax returns for several years in the late 10s and early 20s. The year 2018 became a focal point of the federal indictment. It was revealed that Biden had filed his overdue tax returns, paying the IRS millions in back taxes, penalties, and interest. This money was borrowed from Los Angeles entertainment lawyer Kevin Morris. The indictment levied against Biden includes 6 misdemeanors and 3 felonies encompassing filing a false return and tax evasion. Now, what makes this case peculiar is that criminal charges are rarely brought forward when overdue taxes have been paid and old returns filed. Biden's tax returns for the years 2016 through 2018 indicate that he paid the IRS between 29 and 30% of his income, which ranged between $1.5 and $2.1 million. The indictment alleges that Biden misreported personal expenses as business expenses, but doesn't delve into how he made the money. Now, this has sparked a fair amount of criticism. Some have called the charges politically motivated, while some former colleagues of United States attorneys have stated they would not have brought the case. In the midst of this, Hunter Biden stands accused of evading at least $1.4 million in taxes between 2016 and 2019. He faces 9 criminal counts, including evasion of tax assessment, failure to file and pay taxes, and filing false or fraudulent tax returns. The indictment also includes 3 charges related to alleged gun possession and false statements. Hunter Biden's attorney has maintained that the charges are politically driven, stating that they would not have been brought if his last name wasn't Biden. As we can see, the tax returns and the indictment are central to understanding the gravity and the intricacies of this case. Now we turn to a significant pivot in this story: the whistleblowers and the plea deal. This chapter unfolds as two whistleblowers step into the spotlight, sharing their testimonies and shaking the already tumultuous narrative. These whistleblowers, individuals with inside knowledge of the IRS investigations, revealed that the IRS recommended charging Hunter Biden with more serious crimes, including attempted tax evasion and filing false tax returns over a number of years. These charges are notably heavier than the ones Biden has agreed to plead guilty to as part of his plea deal. The whistleblowers provided documents showing that certain Justice Department prosecutors supported the IRS's recommendation. However, these calls for more severe charges were not backed by more senior attorneys, leading to whispers of political interference. One IRS veteran, Gary Shapley, even claimed that the Department of Justice provided preferential treatment and deliberately slowed the pace of the investigation. The plea deal agreed upon by Hunter Biden and the prosecutors involved him pleading guilty to 2 tax misdemeanors. This agreement also has the potential to resolve a separate felony gun charge if certain conditions are met. This plea deal, however, has not been without its critics. Republicans have lambasted the agreement as lenient, while Democrats have fired back, labeling the release of the whistleblowers' transcripts as a stunning abuse of power. Hunter Biden's lawyer, in response to these allegations, has argued that the conclusions drawn from the released document are misleading, adding another layer of contention to the proceedings. The whistleblowers have also suggested that the investigation into Hunter Biden, codenamed Sportsman, was hindered by concerns about possible interference in the 2020 presidential election. This has led to further debates about the strength of the case and the need for further investigation. The whistleblowers and the plea deal have certainly added a new layer of complexity to this case. With all these details in mind, we must now consider the implications and what the future holds for Hunter Biden. As the son of a sitting president, his legal woes are of national interest. The trial, set to begin on June 20th, 2024, will be a spectacle closely watched by both sides of the political aisle. The potential implications of this case are far-reaching. For Hunter Biden, a conviction could lead to severe penalties, including substantial fines and possible imprisonment. Additionally, the personal toll cannot be underestimated. The charges and the ensuing trial have already cast a shadow over his personal and professional life, a situation that is only likely to intensify as the legal proceedings unfold. The Biden administration could also be impacted. While it's important to note that Hunter Biden's actions are separate from those of his father, President Joe Biden, the political reality is that opponents often use such controversies to attack the administration. The trial could become a significant distraction, potentially hindering the administration's ability to focus on policy and governance. On a larger scale, this case could fuel further polarization in an already divided political landscape. Republicans have criticized the plea agreement as lenient, while Democrats have called the release of the transcripts a stunning abuse of power. This disagreement is likely to escalate as the trial progresses. As for the possible outcomes of the trial, it's difficult to predict with certainty. The defense argues that the charges are politically motivated, while the prosecution maintains that this is a clear case of tax evasion. It's ultimately up to the court to determine the truth. As we await the trial, one thing is certain: this case will continue to be a significant topic in political discussions in the times ahead. As we wrap up our discussion, let's take a moment to reflect on what we've learned. We've delved into the charges against Hunter Biden, the son of President Joe Biden, where he stands accused of 9 tax-related charges, including tax evasion and filing fraudulent forms with the IRS. We've traced the timeline of events, from the initial indictment to his not guilty plea in a federal court in Los Angeles. We've examined the evidence laid out in his tax returns and the particulars of the indictment, shedding light on the alleged tax avoidance scheme and how he might have spent the funds in question. We've also considered the revelations brought forward by whistleblowers and how their testimony has influenced the case. We discussed the plea deal that Hunter Biden has agreed to, which has stirred controversy and raised questions about the fairness of the legal process. Lastly, we've pondered upon the potential implications of the case and what the future might hold for Hunter Biden, his family, and the political landscape of the country. We'll continue to keep an eye on this story as it unfolds, but for now, that's all we have time for. Thank you for joining us in this deep dive into the Hunter Biden tax evasion case.